Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in Trust series right now. I'm so glad you're here with us. I am Sarah Torpy. I am the creator of Selling for Weirdos, which you know. I am a business coach. I parent and do all the things. And all season on the podcast right now, we are talking about trust, which I have told you again and again, and you're sad that you can't get away from maybe. But it is the thing. I think I have discovered that it is the difference maker. I think it is the internal thing that we can work on and build and control that changes all the things.
Mhm.
Today, we are talking to another one of my favorite people. I say that every time I have somebody on, but really, truly, like I only invite my favorite people and all the best people for you to talk to. So today, we have my friend Melissa Camilleri from Stand for the And, who is a teacher and a business leader and has done a million things. So she's going to tell you the bio from because she's going to do it better than I would because I'm just going to pick and choose. But she wears all the hats also. So hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for coming to
Hi.
play with us today.
I'm so happy to be here, Sarah. Thank you so much for inviting me. So you want me to tell people
Tell the people, tell the
about
people
me?
all the
Okay.
things.
I'm Melissa, and I am a lifelong educator. I was a high school English teacher. That's how I started my career. And through a series of twists and turns, started a business 14 years ago, and burnt it all down at its peaks of quote success. Um, After I had my two boys back to back 13 months apart, and I had realized that I had built my business in a way that wasn't sustainable for my life because when I started it, I was newly divorced. So just it was just me, no
Yep.
kids, and I didn't build it with balance. But now, after that, I co-founded an organization with one of my business besties, Angela Greaser, and it's called Stand for the End. And we're a business development and growth agency that helps people who are thought leaders, aspiring thought leaders, people with a really important message to share. And we help them develop a business around whatever that message or their vision is for their life. I also am a co-founder of something you know very well, also called the Prosper Network, which
Mhm.
is a business network for women who center and value generosity, reciprocity, and expansion, which is there's such a deficit of that in the world of business, and we're trying to turn the page on that and do something different. I'm a mom of three, wife to one, and yeah, life is good.
And a fellow baseball parent, because
I
welcome to
am.
the game.
I am a fellow baseball parent, and it is intense on these streets.
It sure is. We just
Yeah.
first, first, first tournament, first trophy this weekend. So
Oh
always a
my
thing.
God.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
And actually, I'm going to talk to Angela in a couple of weeks, so that's going to be fun too. You're going to get to hear both sides of the Stand for the And coin, friends, and
Yay.
all things Prosper Network. And I am someone who works with both of you. So like I'm happy to tell people that, like my people that. I went to Angela and Melissa a couple of years, a year and a half, or I don't even know anymore,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
said to
probably.
them, your program sounds a little different for me, but what I need you to do is help me use marketing tools that are regular people marketing tools in a way that feels like me. And
Yeah.
so that is what they're really good at for me. They're good at all kinds of things, but for me, they're like, okay, take this tool and here's how you turn it into a tool that gives, right? And also is business. And so for me, that's been amazing. But
Yeah.
we had Melissa today to talk about trust. So, friend,
Yeah.
in this really important thing that I think we don't talk enough about, which is why I'm going to spend basically the rest of my life talking about it. Tell me just at the start, like how you define trust for yourself and what it means to you first as a like human being, but
Yeah.
then as a business owner, because at least for me, they feel sort of separate. Like,
Yeah.
and even trust as a parent is slightly different. I feel like those are different versions of me and different versions of trust, or maybe I just have more in one bucket or another. But tell me
Yeah.
your thoughts about that.
So I think. when I look at my life and my personal and spiritual development and how I've kind of navigated through adulthood, there's the time before divorce and there's the time after divorce.
Mm.
So I got divorced at 32 after being with my partner for 32 years. 32 years. I was 32 years old when it happened. I was with him for 10 years. And um, I think you learn a lot about trust when your trust has been broken and figuring out like, oh, I just gave this trust freely and now maybe it's not safe to trust. And so I think I remember when Brene Brown first came out, she was talking about like we asked all these people about vulnerability and what they knew about vulnerability was actually the opposite. It was about, they were telling me about shame. And so when we talk about trust, the way that I think about it at first is when have I had my trust broken? And how
Mm.
did that actually, what does that make me feel about trusting others and then trusting myself? And what I've learned since, you know, getting through that like monumental personal life shift is that too often I think we put our trust in others before we trust ourselves, and then it sets us up for broken trust as opposed to learning to trust ourselves first to make decisions where our to mitigate other people breaking our trust because you're not putting all your eggs in somebody else's basket. You're learning to turn inward first. Listen to what it is that you value, what it is that you want from your life, and making choices aligned with that. That's how you build confidence, that's how you build self-trust. And it's not that my trust hasn't been broken since then. It's more that it's not some external thing that's happening unto me. I have some control over it because I've learned to trust myself first when I didn't develop that at an early age. I developed that well into adulthood.
Well, and it's sort of the like, I always think of that as the does it work for me pause,
Mm,
right? It's the like pause. Does this actually work for me? Like, do I want this? Do I like this? Do I need this? Is this,
mhm,
it's that. And I think it's not only like what you're talking about is inward first, which is not only that pause, but it's
mhm.
then listening to it. It's
Yeah,
like
and
a
acting.
two-step
Yep.
thing. Like you ask the question and you actually listen to the answer. Because I think sometimes we ask the question and they're like, moving on. And we're like,
Yes.
anywho, that doesn't work for me and I'm still going to do it. And you're like, wait, whoa, 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 roll it back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like thinking about trust and turning it towards yourself, but then also acting on it differently.
Yeah. Which I think is the only way that you actually build self-trust is that you act on it and you recognize like, okay, that was the right choice for me in this moment. And I'm not giving my power to entities outside of me in this moment. Where
Hmm.
I think that when we look to see we crowdsource like what is everybody else doing, what does everybody else think, how does everybody else move, and we move in that way against what we know to be right for ourselves. We break our own self-trust
Yeah.
and we rely on somebody else to have a better answer than we do. And that's not to say nobody else is to be trusted. It's really hard, though, I think. It's just like a stroke of luck if everybody that you trust outside of yourself deserves and maintains that trust. Um, to me, that's a stroke of luck. I don't know
Well,
anybody
and
who hasn't felt betrayed.
I don't think it's their job, right? It's not their job
Yeah,
to be perfectly trustworthy because that's not the nature of people, right? We're
yeah,
always going to run into that, but it is my job to make my choices and to
yeah,
choose to listen to me, right? Like I think it is that external thing that so often we're like, well, we have to pick right based on what everybody said. Like, well, that's not their job. That's not the role of
yeah,
their input. The role of their input is like literally input, and then I get to sift through it and reflect.
yes. And I think from the flip side, being somebody who's in a mentorship role, like you and I both are, I I recognize when people put their trust in me, and I'm conscious of doing what I say I'm going to
Yes.
do, following through on what my promises are, sending you my bio and headshot notwithstanding, because I didn't do that. But for the big things,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
big
yeah.
things is like recognizing, and I think that actually came from teaching, because really early on in teaching, you realize that what you say matters to
Mm,
kids. And even if it's like some sort of flippant comment that you don't even remember making, it can really make a mark on a child for their life and their
yep.
self-perception. And so I feel so grateful for that experience, because it made me very conscious of how I was communicating and what I was saying to kids who don't yet have that self-trust developed necessarily. I mean, it's very like unique child who has that sense of confidence and self-worth and
Yeah.
self-understanding early on in their life. I don't think that that's a skill you build until probably until adulthood, until you've had more life under your belt so that you
Yeah,
can like
until you've
navigate
had the
things.
experience. But I think you're actually you're talking about two separate things to a degree.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, I
talking
am.
about building self-trust, but then also choosing to be trustworthy
Yes.
and like
Yes.
living both sides of that coin, right? There
Yeah.
is allowing yourself to trust yourself, your thoughts, your ideas, your decisions about your business. And
Yeah.
then there is you're in a role where you're in service, you're in a role where you're in giving, and knowing that part of the way your business grows and that you grow as a person is by being trustable,
Yes.
right? And that really matters to you and to me.
Yes. And I think at least on my business journey, I have learned that I would approach every new relationship, every mentorship, everything that I invested in, assuming that people were trustworthy until, proven otherwise. And
Yeah.
pretty early on, I was like, ooh, wait, what? Like, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
No, and then also, so like realizing people don't hold themselves to the same standard, maybe that I hold myself when it comes to trustworthiness, or have a different definition of it, that like maybe my bar is extremely high and somebody else defines it in some other way and they're doing their best, but it doesn't work for me. And then realizing that there are still lots of people out there who are trustworthy, but it takes the discernment, which I think comes from self-trust and recognizing like what is actually for me, like what we were talking about at the top of this, is like just navigating. It's not always, in the business world at least, it's not always the loudest voice in the room or the person with the flashiest, they're everywhere. It's like that seems like it's trustworthy because all of these people seem to like this person. So
Yeah.
maybe and then I've realized like my best business relationships are so like just formed like how I would form any other regular relationship, which is just through friendship and over time recognizing this person and I are aligned values wise. This person and I share a lot in common, and we've developed a friendship, and therefore they deserve my trust, not just because they have X amount of followers or, social proof.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think everybody's had that experience where you're like, "Oh, this person feels trustworthy at like it's like the immature trustworthiness, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
an oh, I okay, I'm gonna follow this." But I think what's interesting is one of the things I realized in having made some of those decisions too and follow and like opted into programs where I was like, "Oh, this." Was
Yeah.
that I get to trust myself to
Yeah.
show up and get what I need from it. And if I have to do
Yes.
that loudly or in a different way than the people expect me to, like I am willing to be the one that comes in 3 weeks into the program and is like, I see your thing goes in this order, and also I'm not going to do it like that. So tell me what to do if I want this.
Yes.
Right. And I have to
Yes.
be able to trust myself to advocate for myself when it doesn't work for me. Because sometimes you can do that quietly and sometimes you can't. But you also have to be like, I bought into this.
That's right.
I am going to get what I need.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because that's, I think, business maturity, or what
Mm,
I see from a more mature business owners. I don't mean like emotionally mature, but yeah, I guess emotionally mature, but people who have just like been at it for a second, you start to recognize that no matter what investment you make, whether or not the facilitator is deserving of your trust, that you trust yourself enough to get what you came for. And so
Yes.
I've invested in programs where I thought everything that was being taught, I'm like, I know all of this, but mark my words, I came out with X amount of, new friends, new contacts,
Yes.
in order to like create strategic partnerships. So I'm never going to invest in anything and not get
Yep.
maximum ROI because that's my own self-trust. Like I won't let myself down.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes with confidence, that comes with being, resilient, building resilience, staying power, and you recognize, okay, I it's okay to need both things can be true. You can need help, you can need mentorship, you can need support, and you can know how you work, how you operate, what's best for your business. And so, when Angela and I are coaching or mentoring or, providing strategic advisement, we always have an asterisk that says you have full agency to choose whether or not what we're saying feels right for you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, let's talk it out because then we'll find another solution because we never want to be like, this is what you have to do. So we're platform agnostic, we're marketing tool agnostic. We're like, what works for you? And let's listen and find a solution together instead of like, you have to do this because
Yes.
who's to say? Like,
Well,
how do I
because
know
all
what you
the
do?
all the ways work, right?
Yes,
And
it
that's, I
just,
think,
yeah,
the other mature thing in business in some ways that you sort of grow into seeing is it's like early on, you're like, oh, I think that way works. Let me try that way. I'm following this person and this is the way they do it, so I have to do it that way. And then
yeah,
eventually you're like, okay, I've seen this 50 different ways and everybody seems to do well with their 50 different ways. I guess I can be 51,
yeah,
right? Because if 50
yeah,
ways work, then why doesn't 51? Like,
right.
and it's, where I can do what I do, but I think actually in that self-advocacy, self-trust, I think the teacher people have a little advantage because we know a
Yeah.
lot more about ourselves as learners.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I could go on forever about this. I think teachers make the best business owners because
Yes.
all of our transferable skills, but we don't see that. And that's not what we're taught in education.
No.
It requires us figuring out how we can take everything we've learned in this industry of education and then plop it into the business world. And you realize, oh my God, I actually know a lot about humans, about how we learn, about how I learn, about how I need to access things. And I've been like early on in my business journey, when I first started, I had zero entrepreneurial experience. I had
Yeah. Same.
literally no idea what I was doing.
Same.
And people were telling me like, God, you like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, I literally don't know. Like, I have no idea how I'm doing this. And they're like, but you like you're making relationships with people and you're talking about your thing. And it was like, yeah, because that's like what I do
Yeah,
in
but
my
it's the same as
classroom.
a classroom because, like, here's the
Yeah.
thing in entrepreneurship, I think what happens is you show up day one and you're like, okay, I don't want to know what to do. And some people stop right there. But in a classroom, there was a point when I was 21 years old when they were
Yeah.
like, here is a classroom of eighth graders. They are yours. And so the
Yeah.
first day I walked in with
Good
a plan,
luck.
and then the next day I had to do it again.
Yes.
Even when I was like, shh, Nikes, I don't know what to do with these kids. I
Yeah.
ran out, like day five, I ran out of corners,
Yeah.
right? And I remember thinking, oh crap, I ran out of corners and like standing there and thinking, like, shit, now what? Like, and they
Totally.
were all taller than me, and I'm not short. And like, but you show up and you're like, well, guess I'm going to figure out what to do next because
Yeah.
they're staring at you. And
Right.
I treat entrepreneurship the same way, I think,
Yeah,
where you're
because
like,
it's
well, today I have to figure it out because this is what we're doing now.
totally, and you come from a middle school background. I'm in a high school background. So there's also this sense of like, okay, first period bombed. Well, better
Well,
do it better
oh my
second
God,
period,
same. Yes.
And so you just keep on going and you keep getting better little by little. And there's this like stick. with itness that teachers cultivate because 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, there's another 37 kids looking right at you going, what's next? And
Well,
you're like,
there's no other
I better
choice.
think, right.
And
I
and
better
it's
find
like
something to
a
do.
trust masterclass because it's like, okay, I got
Yeah.
to figure this out again tomorrow and nobody's going to
Yes.
tell me what to say.
No, it's like sink or swim. And when you have a heart for humans, you're
Mm,
like, I'm not going to let them down. I
mhm.
will figure this out. I am smart enough and willing enough to figure this out for the betterment of the people in front of me. And I think that has totally driven entrepreneurship for me too.
So I think what's really interesting about that is there's a trust in your ability to figure it out there. And I think a lot of teachers come over with that. I think the
Yeah.
place where it falls down, and I was just actually talking to someone else about this morning, is trusting in the idea that you have something valuable to other people,
Yeah.
something to give that people will pay for that turns into a business. So talk to me about trusting that you have something saleable, right? Because I think that that's where a
Yeah.
lot of people get stuck. They're like, okay, I know I can figure it out, but I don't know if anyone will give me money.
Yeah. So, my first business, I was selling physical products. So
Hmm.
that made sense in my mind. It wasn't a service, it wasn't showing up because I did not actually know what my skills were. So I
Hmm.
started selling jewelry for a scholarship program. It was a fundraiser for my high school girls who were coming up financially short for their next step for post-secondary. And so people liked the idea of jewelry that had, I mean, it was called compliment. It had a compliment inside the box and giving gifts with compliments. And at the time in 2011, it wasn't everywhere. Like Etsy was still very new.
Yeah.
Um, you didn't see it everywhere. Like there was nothing like that at Target, nothing like that in the department stores. And so I knew I was onto something because I sold a lot right when we launched, to friends and family and other like educators because of the scholarship component. But when I shut that down,
Hmm.
it was really hard for me at first to pivot. Like I didn't pivot out very quickly. It took me a year of just being quiet. And part of that is also because, I was a new mom, so I'm like in the
Keeping
postpartum
humans alive
fog.
phase.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like, what do I actually know? And during the time that I had compliment another business owner that I had met in some sort of Facebook group or whatever, she said, "How are you growing so fast on Instagram?" And I was like, I don't, I honestly don't know, but like, here's what I'm doing. And I
Mm.
wrote out 10 tips. And she goes, seriously, you need to package this up and put it in a course. And I was like, why? This is so dumb. Who would want Instagram to? It's
Right.
like, right, 2013, right? I'm like, who gives a crap about this stuff? And she's like, no, seriously, this is really valuable. So I think what it was, the seedling of it, um, in sharing like a skill that was valuable and that people wanted it came from listening to
Mm.
somebody else's feedback. And that I think I honed during my years teaching because like kids are brutal and there is a constant feedback loop,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
they're the worst audience. They're so mean. They're so hormonal to you. Like, I try to foster a good thing,
Because
but
they
like,
love you and you have trust with them, and then they're gonna
yeah,
be mean because that's wait till
yeah.
your kids get to be 13
Oh
and they
yeah,
do the
can't
same
wait.
thing, and you're like, oh, this is how they know they trust me. Oh
My
boy.
6 year old, my 6 year old last week, he goes, Mom, just so you know, you are not cool. And I go,
Okay.
okay, it's starting already. I invented cool. Um, but yeah, like, so kids are going to tell you what's working and what's not. And so you learn to listen to that and adjust your sales, between first and second period or between second, whatever, day to
Mm.
day. And so when this woman emailing back and she goes, I would have seriously paid you to show me these things. And you just so generously like sent them, zipped them off in an email. why don't you charge for this? And I was like, could I really do that? Okay, let's try it. And in the first time I said, here, I'm going to give you a tip a day for 21 days. I charged $47 out the gate and made like, I think 17 grand
Well,
selling
and
it.
but here's the thing I think what's interesting there is she said this is valuable and you believed her.
Yeah, I maybe not at first, but then I asked
But
like,
you
are you sure?
did
What do
find
you
your
find
way to
valuable? Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
found a way to trust that she wasn't lying to you.
Yeah.
Because I think what happens to people, I see this all the time, is I'll say to somebody that's saleable and they'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But they don't actually believe it. Like even though they hear
Yeah.
it, they like can't get past
Hmm.
into the like, okay, I believe you, let me figure this out, right? Or people
Yeah.
have said to me that I think they would pay for this, but I don't, I haven't done anything with it. And it's that action
Yeah.
step that makes such a difference to going to experiment.
So I think this actually, if I think back, I had some things that made me extra willing to try.
Mm. Okay.
Number one, I had just, left, my husband and I broke up, ex-husband and I broke up at the time. And so I went from a dual income household to a single income household, and I had just left the classroom. So it was freaking sink or swim. Like I was
Yeah.
on my own. I took a massive financial hit leaving that marriage, and I had to figure it out.
Mm.
And so when you're kind of like nothing left to lose, my
Mm-hmm.
husband calls it the F it point. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
F it, let's try it.
Yep.
There was a willingness to try something and it not working. I was not precious about stuff. It was like,
Yes.
I need to figure this out, and therefore, let's see what happens. And
Yes.
then got feedback that, yes, people do want this, and therefore, let's try it again, and let's try it again, and let's try it again. And always listening to the feedback was helpful in building up that trust that, okay, maybe I do have something that
Mm-hmm.
is unique. And because we say this in the Impact Incubator, which is our Stand for the Young program, it's like you can't read the label from inside the jar. And so one thing that I know I am good at over the years is asking, not being uh like squeamy about feedback. I don't take it personally because I want to be able to serve well. So it's like,
Yeah.
what is your reaction to this? How does this land for you? And not being like, they didn't like my stuff. Like I can separate myself from what I'm trying to offer.
Yes.
And I didn't start off that way. I don't think it was like of pitching yourself and getting a no. Like rejection hurts, but
Mm-hmm.
then you realize like they're not rejecting me, or they're not giving
Mm-hmm.
me as a human terrible feedback. They're just saying this offer isn't hitting. And so
Yes.
I can look at that and objectively and say, okay, what is it going to take for it to hit? And I can approach it more as a objective scientist, as instead of like this, you know, my bearing my soul in this like, like this is such a precious thing and you're accusing me of a human of not being worthy. Like I don't subscribe to that. I know I am worthy, period, separate from my business. So
Well, and I think that's I think one of the earlier episodes in the series I was talking about, like I had to learn to literally think about my offers as like a thing I hold in my hand
yeah,
that I offer to people.
yeah,
Because that for me, like literally holding something in my hot little hand to being like, here, I have this thing for you.
yep,
And thinking about this service I offer as like a physical thing I hand to somebody means that if they
yep,
say no, they're saying no to this thing in my hand.
yes,
And they're not saying,
exactly.
no, Sarah, you're a terrible person. And
Right.
making that separation means I can trust myself and the offer, but that are not exactly the same.
Exactly. And that what I think helped me along the journey is that I started with physical products.
Yes.
And I can
Yep.
imagine, like, okay, if these are all on a shelf, I, as a consumer, will go through a shampoo aisle and say, not that one, not that one. Okay, that's a good fit. And
Hmm.
I can think of my product on a shelf in the exact same way. Somebody else is going to say, I want this one. Somebody else is going to say, I want hers. And
Yes.
this is why. And I can be available, ready and available for the person who wants to pick my thing.
Yep.
And it's not picking me for the sports team or picking me as a human. It's just the thing that's on the shelf.
Well, and services are the same. They go in a box on the
Yeah,
shelf.
right.
And it doesn't, like, we don't have to be, like, I am not for everybody. I'm cool with
Yeah,
that. Like, if I was for everybody,
totally.
we'd have a different problem.
You
Like,
can't serve everybody.
no.
It's humanly impossible.
And
Why
so
would you
we don't
want
want
to?
to. Like, I
Right.
say to people all the time, how many people do you actually need?
And the number's so small.
So small. It's like
So
40.
doable.
And you're like,
Yes.
if somebody says to me 300, it's still like, okay, well, there's 300 million people in this country. And
Yeah.
there's billions of people on the planet. So you're saying you need 300 of them. And it's
Easy.
like,
Let's go find
oh,
them. Yeah.
right? Like it's scale. We forget that we know 300. Like I have 300 people in my freaking address book. Then some. Like
Exactly.
I have 1,000 people in my phone contacts. Like, are you kidding me?
Right. I had
So like,
360 at wedding number one.
oh, oh my good
I know.
gravy.
Didn't do that one again.
Oh, the people. So where you are now in your business,
Yeah.
what are you working on in trust?
Oh, okay. So
And maybe it's less business and more parenting. Maybe it's what are you, Melissa? Let me change the question. Working on in trust right now.
I think there's two things that are really prevalent and constantly on my mind. The first one is I have a couple of really big long-term projects that I'm working on, one being a book.
Mm,
And I started writing the book the week before I gave birth at 43 years old to my youngest child and got most of the writing done with her in a sling on me.
mm.
Well, now she's two and some change, and that book is still not done.
She moves more.
She moves a lot more. She is, our family is doing all of the things. There's a million things every day, and trusting myself and my timeline that at
Yes.
exactly the right time this will all get wrapped up. I mean, I'm very far in the process, and it won't take that long for me to wrap up that project. And yet, every single day, there has been something after my work is complete that is taking me away from finishing that. Even when I plan, like I've planned overnights at a hotel, like a staycation to finish it, and something else is more pressing. And so, like, I have to plan the birthday party or I have to, do
Yeah.
whatever. And so, really trusting that whatever the timeline is going to be perfect because
Mhm.
I have deep faith that divine timing is always the right time.
Yep.
But that I'm not saying like I'm perfect at it either. Like
Well,
it
no,
requires
it's
me
you can
reminding
believe
myself.
it and also have like many moments a day where you're like, really? Is this
Yeah.
gonna work? Is this
And
ever gonna
like,
work? Am I ever gonna get this done?
yeah. And there's definitely moments of like self-loathing or self, like inflicted misery where I'm like, God, that I should be done already. I should be at this other
Mm.
place. I should be doing, whatever. And so that's one thing that I'm trusting. And then I'm also trusting, and this is like I'm not overtly churchy or overtly spiritual in any of my business stuff, but I have a very deep faith that God doesn't bring me this far to only bring me this far. And so I lean on my faith a lot. And I'm like a quiet prayer. I'm
Mhm.
very internal about it. I'm not very showy about it, but I do a lot of as much as possible quiet, prayerful moments where I'm like, okay, God, world is on fire right now.
Mm.
There's so much chaos. Am I doing the right thing? Like, how does my work push forward and better the world? I have to trust that you wouldn't bring me this far only for peril.
Hmm.
but I don't know what that looks like. And so I'm
Mhm.
leaning in. It's like I'm leaning in full faith it that like, you know, in secular terms, the universe has my back
Mhm.
and I'm going to be okay. No
Mhm.
matter what happens, my family's going to be okay. We'll figure it out together. And if we're not okay, we're in it together. Otherwise, I get in my head and trying to figure out how I can personally control all these external uncontrollables that none of us can do on our own. So I'm really working on trusting who's in my community, how I can participate in my own activism and my own community, like moving my community toward where I want to go, what I do each and every day within my business, for my clients to help them as well. I'm really trusting that that is enough in this moment.
Well, and
And
the piece that you like, I always think about how it's not my job to know where my piece of the puzzle ends up,
right, I
right?
just
Like
have,
with
yeah,
students in schools, like you did eighth grade or 10th grade or 11th grade, and they didn't necessarily come back and be like, here I am as a grown up, and here's how you impacted me. Like
yeah,
you get to do your piece. And the thing I think all the time is like, I have to trust that me doing my piece is me doing my piece,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
ugh.
And for people with such a heart for people, like we talked about, it's like I want to, and this comes from teaching, like I want to save everybody. I want to
Mm,
make sure everybody's okay, everybody's taken care of. And I learned, through teaching was my first like big, oh my God, I can't save everybody myself. Like
mm,
this is a really big lesson here. And then parenting and realizing like, oh my God, these humans are outside of me and I have to trust that they're going to be okay. Like that's a whole different level. And then in business, knowing like I'm giving my best every day because that's my like soul contract to my
yep,
clients. It's like I will show up and I will fight for you every single day. And at some point I have to be like, okay, and then you're going to take the torch and go because we're
yes.
all, and that part is so hard because I like teachers, man, we are like, let us in there, we're gonna fix this,
Well, and it's
and
like, I want to hold your hand and I will take your hand and I will drag your ass with me. Right. And
yeah, but you
that is
can't.
no, and you can't there and you can't here and you can't anywhere else. Like I can't want it more than they do.
Yes. So that's the difference between empowering somebody to go off and prosper and do their thing or enabling them by doing
Mm,
it for them and
mhm.
dragging them along and being and Angela and I have had that happen in our business with some clients where we're like, why is this interrupting our life when they're not even busy
Yeah.
caring about the business
Yeah.
the way that we're caring about their business? This is going to, I think this relationship has run its course.
Right.
Um, when we first joined forces, and so yeah, like that is a constant tug of war, is trusting that what we do when we're doing our best is enough. So our best is
Yes.
enough, and that's got to be it.
Well, and it's I always think so there's like for me there's three things in there, I think.
Mhm.
The first is trusting that I am doing my part, right? All I can do are the things I can do, right? I'm going to show up. I'm always going to show up, but I have to trust that, and I trust that I'm going to do that. The second is I have to trust the people on the other side of the relationship to be grown-ups,
Yeah,
to do their part, to know
yeah,
their part, and to show up for their part. Like I can't make them, but they are. And then
right.
I have to, this is the one I work on all the time. I have to, I've had to sort of make the internal shift from making things work out to letting them.
Yeah,
And so my next job is to allow time to be time and process to be process and
yep,
things to work as they're going to work. Like last week was a really good example. We were supposed to, like, My calendar always works itself out, damn it. If
Yeah,
I
always.
just let it. On Tuesday, I had a bunch of stuff going on, and I was like, I don't know if this is all going to fit. And there were people coming to do work at the house, and it's usually a house cleaning day every other week. And Monday night, the people coming to do work changed to Wednesday. The house cleaners changed to Thursday. All the things work out. The dog walker was like, I can't do this day. Can I come Tuesday? And I was like, well, that cleaned itself up.
Yep,
Like it just, I have to allow it to do its thing. And that allowance is it's like 400 level trust instead of 100 level intro course trust.
correct. It's sweet surrender. And
Oh God,
and that
so bad.
is yeah, like that is the ultimate is just figuring out how do you surrender when you've done everything you can do and then you surrender to the outcome. Yeah,
Things work
things
because
work.
you just let them do their thing. And that is
Yeah.
like, I tell people all the time, stop touching it.
Yeah.
Like, stop touching it. Let it work. And they're like,
Yeah.
why? So if you, knowing all the people you know and knowing the things people are working on and knowing the teacher people, if you could say to them, okay, here's this thing about trust for you to think about, for you to put in your journal, for you to practice, right? What
Mhm.
is the thing that you want people to be like, this one thing? No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. It should be perfect
Yeah.
also. Kidding. I'm gonna mess. Like, don't worry. Like, what would you love for them to think about or do or try, right? Like, what is the experiment?
All I can say is what's worked for me in the past. So, from my own experience, if ever I am struggling with trusting an outcome, trusting what's in store for me, trusting myself, the thing that helps me the most is going back and remembering times when I had a choice and I chose well and reminding myself I can trust a situation. I also remember times that I chose poorly and it still worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can write those down and call them up to mind, I mean, there's times like you see, I have notebooks everywhere where there's just like jots of like scribbles
Yeah.
of like reminders to myself. It it always works out in the end. That is a belief that you must cultivate, but ultimately anytime that I've made a wrong choice, a bad investment, choosing the wrong partner, it's always worked out better than I could have imagined in the end. It doesn't mean that I didn't suffer some, you know, from
Yeah.
that, but it always works out better in the end. And if I can remind myself that, I can get into that trusting place faster. And so that's what I would recommend is that every single one of us has made a choice where we're like, yeah, I was at a crossroads and like, I did that. Good me.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Great, great job. And then every one of us has been at a crossroads and chosen the thing that wasn't great. And yet you're still here.
Yes. Well, and to sort of have examples you can go back to, big ones, small ones. Like I have little ones, I have big ones where I'm like, no, no, no. The thing I think all the time is like, every now and then you worry about money, you worry about something like, but we're still here.
Yeah.
We always figured it out. Like it's
Yeah.
always fine. It's just how stressed out do I want to be about it?
That's
Like,
right.
because the only person stressed out is me. Like
Right.
nobody else is as worried as I am. And, my mom always said, things always work out in the end. And if they haven't worked out yet, you're not at the end.
Yes.
And
Also
I
known
think
as
that
if you're
all the
going
time.
through hell, keep going.
Yes, like it's just not the end yet. And as a kid,
Right.
that made me want to murder people.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was like, well, but I would like to be at the end and I would like to control this and I would like, because, my little type A child self was very
Right.
like, but I need this, I need to know how it's going to work. And that is a very different place than like, okay, we're going to see where it goes and it's going to go where it needs to go. And if we're not where we think we're going to end up, then we're just not there yet. Because honestly,
Yeah.
if you had asked 5 years ago or 10 years ago, Sarah, if she was a business owner with a podcast, she would have thought you were adorable. And this was so
Yeah,
funny, right? Like who knew?
you're right. I know. Isn't it? It makes life actually quite interesting and fun
It
if you let
does.
it.
We're
If you
like,
let it.
oh, what fun things I get to do now. But oh, so fabulous. So, Melissa, tell
Yes.
people where to find you and what to come get from you right now.
Yes. Okay. You can find me two places. One is standfortheand.com. And on the site, you will see a place where it's a start here, and you could just go and grab all of our freebies and resources. And then if you're interested in networking resources, check us out at the Prosper Network. I'm sure you can put the
Yeah.
link in the notes for
Yep.
that.
Yep, I can put the links to all the things and I will. You'll get
Yeah.
all the links in the places they always are. If you want to come find me, I'm in my Facebook group, which is the same name as this podcast. It's Uncomplicating Business for Teachers, Helpers, and Givers. You can go to my website. It's torpycoaching.com, or you can like come find and connect with us because like we like people. We like you.
Yeah, wait, can I say this?
Yeah.
Please find me on LinkedIn. I am
Yes.
like just amping up on LinkedIn recently, and I would love to have a conversation. So if you heard this,
Yeah.
say, I heard you on Sarah's podcast, and we will, like, I will legit write you back, and I like being friends. So,
Well, and here's the thing, I am the same, and people will be like, "Well, I don't want to bother you." Like, girl, it is not up to you to decide if you're bothering me or not. It is up to me, and I like human beings. This is me
yeah,
telling you that you should believe us. You should trust that we really mean this because we
yes,
really do. Both of us are
yes,
like people.
yes,
And we actually mean it. So believe it, just like
yeah,
you're saying. Believe that
yeah.
we mean it because we really do. We're both like, "Ooh,
It,
people."
yeah, it would be
Um,
a joy to have a conversation with you all.
yes.
So,
Melissa, thank you so much for this.
thank you,
It's such a treat to
Sarah.
get to talk to you.
I know, I agree. We need to do it more often. We're we're not recording it. We
I
just
know, we just talk about things.
shoot the breeze. I know.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Thank
love
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you, thank you.